What up, you guys? You know what time it is. Time to get that coolant flushed. Let's go. Alright, today I'm going to be doing a full coolant flush on this 2001 Toyota 4Runner. There's going to be 3 different places we're going to drain this coolant from. One's from the radiator, one is from the heater coil, and one is going to be from the side of the engine over here. So let's go take a look. Alright guys, so we're facing the front of the vehicle. We're going to go right in the front where the radiator is. And under there we're going to find the bottom of the radiator. This is our radiator here, okay? And then this is going to be the petcock and the drain. And this is going to be twisted so that it can pour out, like so. Alright, here goes nothing. Alright, that's the car alarm. Hold, please. Alright, let's try that again. And there, comes out just like that, no problem. And then of course, you're going to want to have a drain pan of some kind, something that can catch a decent amount of fluid. A lot's going to come out of here. And that's the first step to draining, is just the radiator. Now we're going to go to the side of the engine and show you how to get that done. Also, pro tip, if you want this to drain a little bit faster, come up here, make sure this is cool to the touch, pop it open, and that'll get the job done a lot quicker. You got your 14 millimeter, you got your extension, and then of course you have your handle. Alright, now second step, like we said, side of the engine block. Here's how you get to it on the 2001 4Runner, but on your vehicle it'll probably be a little bit more difficult to get to. But to give you an idea of what you're looking for, slide in here under the wheel well. You'll see a bolt there, and then let me get a flashlight. You'll see right there, above the bolt in the center, is a little hole. Right above that hole is another bolt. That bolt controls the valve. And if you turn it with a 14 millimeter a couple times to the left, the radiator fluid will come out of that hole and you'll be good to go. Alright, now the third step requires me to get underneath the car to do this. So, I'm going to have my creeper, and I'm going to have my extension pliers, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to show you what you need to do. We got to grab a hold of the hose coming out of the heater coil and pop that off, because there is radiator fluid that is going to come out of that. Alright, so we've gotten creepy on the creeper. We're up underneath the car. You can tell this is the front left tire. Just pan up a little bit, and you're going to see... Alright, you can see that the clip has been moved back off of this clamp, where you can see the indentation where the clamp is, so that you can pull it off. You can see that I've already started to tug it off just a little bit. This is way crazy hot, so you're going to want to let your engine cool before you do all this stuff. I'm going to take the risk. A little steamy, but not bad. And then all you're going to want to do is just slide that off. And then, like we said, water is going to come out of both. She's ready. Oh God. Here we go. Ah, shit, that's hot. My fluids! Hi. Alright, now that we got all the fluid drained, next step is to make sure that you go back around and plug up everything that you just unloosened. If you forget a step, you're going to come back up, pour water into the radiator or radiator fluid into the radiator, and it's all going to come pouring right back out again. So let's double check and make sure that we go back and turn everything back the way that it should be. Alright, and first things first, we're going to come under here to our petcock. We're going to give that a twirl. Probably the other way though, so, you know, it stays in there. By the way, if you're not wearing gloves for this, that's a bad idea. For like the whole thing. Yeah. Alright, so there's the petcock. And make sure it's snug, but not too snug. Alright, so for the second part, remember we go back to the side of our engine block. We're just going to take the same tool as we used before. We're going to get it up in there. We're going to tighten it so that this nozzle here is closed. And after you get that done, make sure it's nice and snug, but not too snug. And then on to part number 3. Alright, and now we're back over to the heater coil. And now that it's all drained out, we're going to go ahead and put the tube back onto the pipe fitting. And then we're going to also double to make sure that our clamp right here gets slid back over the top when you're done. Now you can see everything is all put back into place nice and tight. So we have 1, 2, number 3 all plugged back up. So we're ready to go back to the top. Alright, now we're back up to the top. We got everything plugged in. Now, all we got to do is take care of filling it back up. Also, when you're filling it back up, and when you're emptying it as well, you're going to want to remember about your reservoir tank. This is going to have a little bit of extra in case you run out, so it can suck it back into here if need be. So, the way to get to mine in particular is, I've got to take this screw off, and move this to the side, and then pop this, it comes right out to the top. Alright, now that I've taken out the bolt, move this off to the side, and for everybody it's going to be a different size. For me it's a 13 millimeter, for you it's probably going to be different. And then this slides right out. I kind of already popped it out of place because it's a little bit of a struggle, but it just comes right out just like that. Alright, now we've emptied that out. Put it back, put the battery bolt back in place, and now we're going to come over here. We've got a funnel. I've made it fit. You don't want any gaps here because the water will come out. They make special funnels, but I haven't had any luck with them, so I kind of just found one that sort of fit and then just made it duct tape type. Alright, so we've got our funnel, we've got an empty radiator, an empty engine block. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add distilled water only to run through the system. Now later at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to flush out your core engine and your radiator with a garden hose so you can skip a couple flushes. But when you run the engine, when you're driving, you only want to have distilled water put through it. So we'll go ahead, we'll put, for me, it's about 2 gallons something to fill this thing up. And that's what we're going to put in. And of course, for your vehicle, you're going to have to check your user's or your owner's manual, and then it will tell you how many gallons you need to put in there specifically. Now that we've started to fill it up, it's starting to kind of clog us up on us here, and we know we have a lot more that we still need to put in. So if we come over here and you give your radiator a squeeze a little bit, and that's how it works. And then we can go right back to filling it up, and then eventually it's going to do it again. We can give the radiator hose another couple squeezes and see if that works. If it doesn't and it stays full like this, then we'll go ahead and we'll turn the engine on, and that'll flush the rest of it out. Alright, so it looks like we filled up again. So let's give the radiator a little squeeze. Yep, doesn't want to play ball anymore. So let's go inside the cab. Alright, we finally made it inside. Let's give this thing a crank. And as you can see here, I've got all the way to hot, all the way to max, and I've done that so that it can get through the heater core. Now, we just gotta wait for it to run a little bit. You're going to want to make sure that it gets to at least the midway point. I like to let it get to the midway point and then go drive it for about 10 minutes. I try to drive it so that I'm at about 2,500 RPMs for about 5 or 10 minutes, meaning I go on the highway for about 80 miles an hour. And yep, it looks like that worked. All the water got sucked out, so we're back at it. And it shouldn't be too long of a process. You'll notice all these little bubbles, especially in older vehicles. This is going to happen a lot. So this is really where your overflow comes into handy. You're going to make sure you want to fill that up about halfway. There'll be markers on here that'll indicate the max level. That's where you want to put it. And what it'll do is all these little bubbles will keep happening as you're driving. And as you lose water out of the radiator, it'll start to take it out of the reservoir for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But always make sure that there's water in here, or radiator fluid. I keep saying water because we're doing a flush, continuous flushes, but at the end when it's all done, you want to make sure that you have your radiator flicks in here. As you can see, we've gotten all the water here that can get into the radiator, into the engine, into the heater core. So now we're going to take the rest and put it into the extra. Take this off. Never forget to replace your cap. Sure it's nice and tight. And likewise, also make sure that you have your coolant cap down. And it's on there nice and tight too. So we've got one more flush to do. This is like my 5th or 6th one for this. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna drive it around for about 5, 10, 15 minutes, get the engine nice and hot, come back, and do it again, and then fill it with the right radiator fluid. Alright guys, now that we've done all of our flushes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 flushes, probably about 6 flushes. Now we're going to clear one more time out of here, we're going to see what that looks like, and then we're going to put in that. For my car, I'm using a long life antifreeze coolant. This is not a 50-50 mix, so I did the 50-50 mix myself. I just took some distilled water, mixed it 50-50 to the amount that I needed for my engine. So as soon as I'm done draining this, that's what we're going to put in for the final touch. Alright guys, as you're doing this, when you have all 3 ports on the bottom open, you have the engine block port, the petcock's open, and then the heater coil is open as well, you can pop off your radiator hose here on both sides and run a garden hose through it to flush it. Now when you're done with that, you want to make sure that everything drips out all the way. We'll wait a few more minutes so that the original stuff can get out. And then after that, we'll put the garden hose through it. Make sure you get all that stuff out. Alright. Alright. This is going to be the radiator hose to the engine block, which we're going to be flushing out now. Alright, and now we're going to do backwards. This is going to flush out our radiator. Alright guys, so we've reached the final step. We've mixed our 50-50. Now we're going to throw it in there. And that's it. Just go till it's filled up. Remember what we did last time with the flush? Same thing. And then you're good to go.